Welcome to Season 2 of ADAC Answers, an education podcast for all. Produced by the Podcast Business News Network, hosted by Jill Nicolini. ADAC's mission is to empower K-12 school leaders and teachers to meet the individual learning needs of all students through customized, professional development and coaching services. Led and staffed by passionate, committed professionals, ADAC prides itself on delivering precise solutions to its clients' unique education challenges. ADAC stands for Attain, Differentiate, Advance, and Collaborate. 4 words we believe epitomize our work. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. We are excited to have some of our team leaders from ADAC, and ADAC provides K-12 schools, systems, networks with really what they need to grow and really help with their educational missions. And they're helping so many and in so many different ways, from teaching and learning, education, coaching, special education, even fundraising. And we are back today again with some of the staff to talk more about the work they're doing. And today we're focusing on leadership development, and we have some newcomers with us, and of course some of our old guests as well. So first and foremost, let me welcome to the show Sandra Drummey, because of course I know you best. Sandra, tell us a little bit about the work you're doing today, and we'll introduce each guest before we get started.
Great. Happy to, Jill. Thank you very much. And yes, I am a repeat performer on this podcast. My name is Sandy Drummey. I am the Senior Vice President of Teacher and Leader Development here at ADAC, and I'm thrilled to be back today. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much. Who's up next?
Julie?
Sure. Good morning. I am Julie
Hi,
Cantillon. I am VP of Academics and Advocacy, and I'm a former Associate Superintendent in the Diocese of San Diego.
Brad Snyder, say
Brad.
hello
Hi.
and tell us a little bit about you and where you are and what you do with the company.
Thank you. I am the current Associate Superintendent with the Diocese of Orange. I work with educational programs, and I'm working on a project with Julie and Sandra on developing a program for new leaders and aspiring leaders and principals in our schools.
All right. And for today's topic, again, as we wait for other guests to join us, I believe, Brad, we actually were going to have you talk about the first question or two. Let me ask you a little bit about the recruiting. And I should also mention off the top, which we haven't yet, the website, theadac.com, theadac.com. All right, Brad, what are the challenges with recruiting and good school leaders? Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, we always go to a little bit of a panic as admin in the diocesan level when it's so difficult to find someone that can sit in the chair and has that skill. I think the hardest job in Catholic education is to be a principal of a school. You have to have all the soft skills. You have to have the educational chops. You have to know curriculum, and you have to be able to work with parents. And at the same time, connect and lead your teachers to a vision that you're trying to accomplish to better the school. So we have a real difficult time at getting these people, attracting them, and prepping them. The research shows a principal leaves in 3 to 4 years, but it takes 5 years for you to actually change school culture and move forward. So we've got to get those principals, get them in, and support them in those initial few years if we're going to retain them. So it's so difficult to get them, and then we have to work hard to retain them and give them the skill set they need to be successful.
Why do you think it's so difficult? And do you mind sharing a little bit more about the challenges with actually retaining good leaders?
Yeah, it's because the job is multidimensional, as I was saying here. And it's a real difficult skill set to be able to lead teachers, to create community among parents, and then to connect with the fundraising, the enrollment process. There are lots of different aspects of the job that come together in one. And you go through a credential program or you're a teacher, it doesn't prepare you for all the different things you come in. I remember so clearly, we were in this one principal meeting when I was a new principal, And I turned to the next person and said, I didn't realize that I needed a marketing degree to do this job. And so you don't understand how many different pieces of the job there are until you're actually in it and in the middle of doing it. And I think that's why we have to really support principals and give them those tools early on so that they can feel success and move forward. And I think the challenges we've had with COVID since coming out of COVID have only exacerbated the issue. Teachers take more time off now. So it puts stress on finding substitutes, on motivating your staff to be there and meet the needs of students. Students are more chronically absent than they have been in the past. So I think all these pressures coming together make it difficult to find someone to say, hey, yes, I'll take on that job. I'll work that 60-hour week. I'll stay till 8 o'clock doing the fundraising. So I think, yeah, it is very difficult. And that's why it's critical. I go back to retention. It's critical that we give them the skill sets and in a way that they can do it. Because what you can't do when you're in the 60-hour week job is get home, ignore your family, and jump on for a 3-hour Zoom for a university. So it's got to be practical.
And do you want to clarify some of the things that really do make a good school leader? And of course, anyone else could jump in too.
Yeah, I think when we're looking for good school leaders, we're looking for people that can create vision, can build a team, and can build community among the school. I think you have to be a listener. You have to have where you want the school to be, and you have to understand how to get there by building community and consensus and supporting growth in your people.
Oh, all right. So let's talk more about ADAC and, of course, how they assist private public schools with supporting their leaders. Sandy, Julie, anyone, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, sure. I'll start. And I totally agree with everything that Brad just said.
Thank
I
you,
mean,
Sandy.
yeah, you brought me back to my days of being a principal all over again. I'm like, that's exactly right. It's all that. And Julie, Jill, to answer your question, a lot of the team members on ADAC are former principals. And so we certainly understand what it's like to be in that position. And it's multifaceted. And so we come in and help them in all of those areas, whether it's instructional leadership, overseeing new staff, new teachers, and helping to mentor them, helping them to maintain a safe and clean facility, helping them with budgets, helping them with data. What's the data look like? What kind of professional development are we going to look at? Look out for teachers so we can help to respond to the data that we're seeing. I'm currently working with the superintendent here in New England who wants us to work with the principals to help build in a stronger curriculum for the diocese across the board. So it's a little bit of everything, but I say it really comes down to being a thought partner with that principal and somebody. I wish I had someone like a coach when I was serving as principal that I could call and say, I just don't understand what to do with this data. Or I'm having a really difficult time with a teacher or a parent. Can we talk? Can you give me some advice? So ADAC is now filling that need because, like I said, we've been there and we certainly understand it. Julie, do you want to add to that?
Just to add on, there's so much urgent that comes with the position. Everything is urgent. You're constantly putting out fires. And all of us have worked at the diocesan leadership and level, and we understand how many fires there actually are. But what this does is it takes you away from what's actually important, what's going to move the needle on student learning, what's going to bring students closer to Jesus Christ, what is actually going to move the needle and make an impact for our students. And so that's where I think we can really come in. We can help the schools build capacity in areas like developing a professional learning community to embrace a culture of data. Analyze their grading practices, and then help them determine what might be the next steps moving forward if they're looking at modifying their current practices. Also, program evaluations. That's something we started doing a lot of recently, and really taking a look at specific programs in your school, highlighting what's working, but also identifying areas for needed improvement and making some recommendations. So I think our work really has evolved over time. So we are able to support leaders right where they are, and we all have that experience to be able to draw from.
All right. And does anyone want to piggyback on that or, again, want to learn a little bit more about ADAC's new leadership program? Could you talk more about that?
Yeah, I think it gives us the pragmatic skills, the real My boss calls it brass tacks, right? So if I'm a new principal and I'm trying to decide, oh, how do I put together this prayer service? Or when do I use a prayer service instead of a mass? I'm going to lead. I think when I stepped into the chair, one of the most challenging things to think about was now I'm the spiritual leader of the school, right? And I'm looking like Moses around for Aaron. Who's going to help me do this, right? So how do I plan that retreat? How do I designate my audience? How do I break that up? And I think those are the kind of skills we're looking to say, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can support you. We can give you templates. We can guide you through that process to make it easier for you, for the Lord to work through. You can be there and be that person you've been called to be. But you have to have those pragmatics. You have to have those practical skills. And that's where ADAC comes in to help you with that, bridge that gap.
Great. And we developed this course based on the needs we saw in the field, as we've been talking about too. And we framed it using the National Catholic Standards and Benchmarks for Effective Catholic Elementary and Secondary Schools, known as the NESBECs. And the reason why we chose this framework to ground it is because these standards really describe how the most mission-driven, program effective, well-managed, and responsibly governed Catholic schools operate. And they are school effectiveness standards, so not content standards. So that's one reason. And the other reason we chose this as the framework is that many dioceses use these NESBECs as their accreditation protocol. And so it's helpful to have this program grounded in these standards, so it will ensure that our leaders are focusing on the right work. So all of the work that we're sharing with them and all the samples that we're sharing and the tools we're sharing are aligned to the NESBECs. And so we aim to create modules that incorporated latest research, but also more importantly, as Brad was saying, samples and templates to get started right away. It really serves as a playbook. So I would even suggest that this program is more than just for new leaders, but also for experienced leaders, because I've had many experienced leaders who've been in the position for 15, 20 years. They've not necessarily led a strategic planning process. Or maybe they don't know really where to start in analyzing their data or developing a PLC culture. So the program consists of 6 online modules. The first module is an introduction, overview of the NESBECs, as well as some organizational tools that could support them through the rest of the course. Then we focus on each domain within the NESBECs: mission and Catholic identity, governance and leadership, academic excellence, and operational vitality. So as Brad was mentioning too, this course can assist you with everything from planning retreats, creating internal processes to support the needs of all learners, like a student study team, or something larger, like creating your multi-tiered system of supports, to even developing a 3 to 5 year financial plan. And that was one of the resources too that Kevin developed as part of the leader of the operational vitality module. So yes. Kevin, why don't you jump in?
I'll speak to that. I apologize for my laptop's perfectly timed crash, Jill, but the operational vitality course with regard to the standards and benchmarks, it's very critical. You could have strong Catholic identity. You could have a school that's got academic excellence, but if you don't have operational vitality, the future of sustainability of the school is in question. And it deals with some very important yet complex topics, like developing the financial plan that Julie spoke about, trying to provide sound human resource policies and procedures and practices, facilities, equipment, and technology. What's your plan for that? What's your plan for communications and marketing, as well as enrollment management? And also, what's your fundraising plan? Like, how are you going to raise money to support the schools? Operational vitality is critical because if you don't have all the planning done here, or if the staff doesn't feel supported, that's putting the school in a potentially unsustainable position. The standards around achieving operational vitality each have their own benchmarks as well, but the NCEA who developed this, as Julie mentioned, they make it clear they want school leaders to be collaborators, creative, relationship builders, confident, best practice builders and developers, and modern thinkers. So that's why our schools need great leaders. And if they don't have all the right stuff, you have organizations like ADAC that can provide professional development support around continuous improvement in their roles as school leaders, because it's incredibly important.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I think that's critical. That was a really good point, Kevin, because you diocesan departments are usually small. and they're already overtaxed, and you're trying to support 30 schools, 800 teachers. And that's where ADAC can come in and pull different leaders from different programs and say, here's a breadth and a wealth of expertise to support you, so you as a diocese don't have to come up with all this stuff on your own in order to support your leaders. And Julie's right. It's for the experienced one, because disaggregating data to inform instruction now is different than it was just 5 years ago. And our processes and what we're expecting is different.
Got it. Now, as far as ADAC is concerned, for those new timers tuning in, do you want to take on maybe, Sandra, just a little bit about how overall this part of having good leaders and recruiting into ADAC and how that helps your company? And for those who may not even be familiar yet with the full aspect of what ADAC does as a whole, I think that we should discuss that in the beginning, even though I know, but our listeners may not be aware of all of that.
Yes, I'm happy to share that, Jill. So ADAC as a whole, we have the academic division. We also have our advocacy division, which does a lot of work with schools and dioceses across the country, helping them to be better trained on what their federal funding sources are. And ADAC has just launched a public school division, which we're working very hard to work with public school partners too in a lot of these same areas, because at the end of the day, our goal is to really help as many students as we can. So whether it be our special education services, our leadership services, or any other services that we offer, we want to be there for as many schools as we can be. That's our vision and our mission as leaders of this company. We have some fantastic people working with us. Brad and Kevin have been great partners of ADAC over the years, and we're blessed with so many others in the field to bring their expertise to the table.
And for the rest of today's show, I know leadership development is really our focus. Is there anything else that you want to add? Unfortunately, we only have 3 minutes left in the show because I know we got a late start today. But how did you want to sum everything up for everyone today? Brad, Kevin, Julie, Sandra, anyone?
Maybe we can all say a few things. I just want to say, for all the leaders listening out there, keep up the good work. We need you. Continue. It's not like Brad was right. It's not easy. It's not an easy job. It doesn't end when the bell rings at 3:00. Usually a principal's job just begins because it gets quieter in her office or his office, and he has time to answer phone calls and emails. Please know that to reach out, there's support out there for you. You're in our prayers, and we're here if you need us.
All
Julie,
right.
do you want to add to that?
Yeah, just with the leadership program specifically too. As I mentioned, I think it's coming out we're rolling it out in about a month from now. But another benefit of this program too is it does come with coaching support in addition to the actual resources that are going to be available to you. So just knowing that ADAC can serve as thought partners to you too. This job is very isolating when you're a building leader, and we're there to support you however we can. And sometimes that is just being a thought partner in your implementation of the resources and supports that we'll be providing.
All right. Thank you. And to sum up for today, how can we contact you all?
So our website is www.theadac.com. Then we have the public site, which is www.theadacpublic.com. And our advocacy is www.theadacadvocacy.com.
All right. Thank you all so much for being here, for joining up and us and discussing leadership, and looking forward to the next time we connect. I know we got a late start, but I think we were able to cover most of everything, right?
Thank you, Jill. It was always a pleasure.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
folks.
Have a great day, everyone. And
Thank you,
we'll talk
everyone.
soon. Thanks
Okay.
so much to all of our listeners and viewers. Stay tuned. More of the show's coming right up after the break.
1 in 5 children in the United States have learning differences, making it more challenging than ever to be a teacher or school leader. At ADAC, we empower K-12 educators to meet the learning needs of all students through customized professional development and coaching services. Learn more at www.theadac.com. That's THEADAC.
Thank you for listening to this episode of ADAC Answers. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to hear more, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. To learn more about ADAC, please visit our website, www.theadac.com. That's theadac.com. You can also find us on Facebook and LinkedIn.
.com.